March snow. Speedy cars and sprinters spring from me. I father fierce fighters and funky music. In a Motown moment, I can spit the blues right back in a bureaucrat's eye. Have you never seen blue salts? No complex chemistry here, only the old color of a new sky. And there's a new sky dawning on Detroit today, which I always like to say on this show. There's a new sky dawning on Detroit today because we got my old friend Mike Williams in the studio today. And he's going to be talking about some programs that he's been doing over the years. Mike Williams, a superb entrepreneur, by the way. And we're going to be interviewing him very shortly after I make just a couple of announcements. One announcement is this. Because today I'm broadcasting my program on WJZZ here in Detroit, and today they're doing a documentary on the life of iconic 94-year-old Michigan State University track coach Jim Bibbs. And in 1958, when Jim Bibbs was 28 years old and I was 22 years old, he ran with me and Bullet Billy Smith and Irving Pete Petros for the Detroit Track Club. You know, Pete later became principal of Mumford High School, and we'll tell you a lot about Pete. But what was then the fastest we ran, what was then the fastest sprint relay team in the world. And I hope to obtain a tape of that documentary to send to folks. You know, Pete Petros and I and Bullet Billy and Jim Bibbs, you know, we ran on that relay team, and then we went to Madison Square Garden and ran on the sprint medley relay team, and I led off that team. You know, put them in the lead. It was 440 yards, 100 yards, 220 yards, 300 yards. 300 yards was the anchor. Pete was running the anchor, and Jim and I bobbled that first baton pass, and he dropped it to the board track in Madison Square Garden. He snatched the we went from first to last in that 6-team final in about 2 seconds. You know. We were first, and then we were last. But Jim Bibbs snatched up that baton, caught the pack, gave the baton to Bullet Billy, and Bullet Billy moved us into 5th place. And then Bullet Billy gave the baton to Pete Petros on the anchor leg, and Pete moved us from 5th to 4th to 3rd to 2nd, and he leaned into the tape. We almost got the gold. You know, after dropping the baton in a race of less than 2 minutes. I don't think that ever happened in history. But anyway, I just wanted to give you a little history on that. But we've got Mike Williams here in the studio today. So, Mike, welcome to the John Telford Detroit Show with Charjay.
Thank you both for having me here.
Well, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Graduate of Mumford High School. You mentioned Mr. Petros. Mr. Petros was my principal back in 1979.
Great man.
Absolutely.
And you know, I got to say something else about him because you know, there's this paper today, you know, that I do, the Native Son, and this is Petros's picture right on that paper when he was running with the Detroit Track Club. And he was, at the time, he was 32 years old. He was running 109.6, the 220 under 21 seconds at the age of 32. I was 22 when we ran all these relay races. And so I put his picture in this paper, and I've been trying to reach his daughter, Candace. So I emailed her, and you know, she's was a master teacher with the Detroit Public Schools, but she just retired. So I can't find her she'd love to see this paper. And I've got the Deputy Superintendent, Alicia Merriweather, doing some detective work trying to find Candace Petros. So if anybody who is watching this show today knows where Candace Petros is, you know, have her call me. She's got my phone number, you know, but I don't have hers anymore or her email. So anyway, but I interrupted you, Mike. You were telling us about yourself right in the middle of that diatribe.
Not a problem. Yeah. So I'm a longtime Detroiter, pretty much here all my life, and started to buy some property. You know, I did a thing back, probably 12 years ago where I had T-shirts that were, T-shirts from all of the Detroit public high schools back in 2008, 2009, 2010.
I remember that.
Yeah, they started to tear down these high schools, all of these wonderful, regal, statuesque buildings. So I embarked upon a mission to kind of preserve the memory of these high schools. And I had these T-shirts, and I was looking for an old school building that I wanted to purchase and convert into what we would have called the Museum for High School Preservation.
That was a great idea.
We had people who absolutely loved it. We had every Detroit public high school, we had a T-shirt with the actual photograph on it, and we had individuals who graduated to come out and sign the name and the year that they graduated on these T-shirts.
Oh, man.
And we had a young lady who graduated from McKenzie in 1928.
That's where Gloria's out there
Absolutely.
in the studio. She's
McKenzie High School. Yeah. So at the time, the young lady was 99 years old, and she came and her family brought her over, and she signed her name on the T-shirt. Well, I was trying to buy a school building. I wanted to buy the John King School building, and I was unsuccessful. DPS wouldn't sell it to me. So I went into the Wayne County auction to find some kind of a building that would have been suitable.
Yeah.
And I discovered lots of property in the Wayne County auction, lots of homes, lots of vacant land, and I bought, at that time, I think I bought like 19 different properties, and I aligned with 8 other individuals who separately we purchased 169 homes.
Jeez.
Yeah, and one of the homes was in Brightmoor.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
I'd never been to Brightmoor in my life.
Yeah.
Never even heard of Brightmoor, and it's right around the corner in the community. And the house that I purchased actually sat on a hill in Detroit, in Brightmoor. And
is it Pershing area?
No, Brightmoor is northwest Detroit. Yeah, it would be Redford area.
Redford, right?
Yeah,
Redford.
and
Okay, yeah, Redford.
Yeah.
Yeah, Redford and Cody.
Yeah, so I got this house, and then I became enamored with Brightmoor because there was like this hill, and then there were these valleys, and we had a lot of vacant property. And I looked at this and I said, this could be something. And I started purchasing more property over in the Brightmoor community.
Well, I know what you're doing now, and you're on the show today to talk about this. Tell us a little bit about the Williams Park Alliance.
So the Williams Park Alliance is something that I created to assist the city in clearing out blight, stopping the rapid decline of what was, in my opinion, the most beautiful city in the world. I grew up here in Detroit, and I've traveled around the country. Detroit is always home. Detroit is always wonderful, and it's disdainful to me to see the decay that has happened over the years.
Tell me about it.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
There were homes in Brightmoor that were effectively on their last leg, and when I say that, I'm actually being analytical because these are properties that were falling down. There was a home in the park that I own now. There was a home that actually had a tree that was growing through the center of the home. It had been
Going through
decayed.
the house, yeah.
Run through the house, through the center of the home. So
Good Lord.
I was able to acquire some property on Burgess Street, and I cleaned up the blight, the illegally dumped debris that was so prevalent throughout the area. I was able to get the blight cleaned up on this one block. I worked with the housing department to have several of these homes that were burned and blighted razed to the ground. I got rid of a lot of the nefarious activity that went on this block, abandoned cars, blight like you would not believe. And I created my first project, which actually kicked off in 2019. We created this park on Burgess, 14300 Burgess, between Linden and Acacia, and we named this park after my mother, Etheldra May Williams. So
Etheldra May Williams
Etheldra
Park.
May Williams Park, yeah,
In Brightmoor.
In Brightmoor, I've got it's a wonderful park. We have lots of wildlife. We have deer. We have bunny rabbits. And you wouldn't think this is right in the city, in the center of the city. Well, not the center of the city, but this is in Detroit.
If you got bunny rabbits, you got some coyotes over there too.
You know, we have a few coyotes, but they don't come around often. But we've got a beautiful small red fox that comes out every once in a while.
Yeah, there are a
We've
lot of
got
red fox.
groundhogs, and I mean, it's almost as if you are in a wilderness area.
Wow.
And it's in the city. Yeah.
So now I used to work for the city, and I used to read meters, and we would take the day off so we wouldn't have to go over there because that's how bad it is. And we're out there, you know, we had a supervisor that rode around, but we're out there by ourselves, you know, and it was just, to me, it was just nasty over there. And I would use a vacation day so I didn't have to work that area. So that being said, why did you select Brightmoor as a community to develop?
Well, you know, again, I purchased a home in Brightmoor through the Wayne County auction, and it was on a hill. It's a brick home. I still own the home. It's a brick home. And there was just a cascade of vacant lots. And it was, you look at this and you say, there is something. There's some potential here. Something can happen over in this area. And I fell in love with the Brightmoor area. I can't explain why. I've always wanted a house on a hill. Let me say that. It was going to be about 8,000 square feet. And so I found this. And the property, nowhere else have I seen in Detroit, and you know, maybe I haven't seen it, but it exists. I've not seen hills and valleys, and we're not talking about large hills, but we're talking about topography that
kind of sloping land.
Yeah, exactly. But there, you know, there's a place that's right in front of my property, and I have a couple lots in here, but they affectionately call it the bowl, and it's a large, deep area that could actually, if you filled it with water, it could make an inland lake.
Whoa.
So yeah, there is topography over in the Brightmoor community, and I absolutely love what we've got over there. Hoping that I can actually do a development at some time in the future. I've proposed this to the city, but it hasn't. It's not picked up any steam. So, but I can visualize.
Who's a council person over there?
James Tate is a council person there.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's I fell in love with Brightmoor. This is the first salvo in what I hope to be a larger development where I'd like to actually do some homes. But I've got this one park that we actually created in honor of my mother. It's a beautiful place. We're still doing some work on it. I want to put in a walking trail. I want to put in a small reflecting pond. We're going to do a pavilion. I want to do a bird aviary because we get
what about a basketball court?
You know what? I don't want to do a lot of things by way of. I want this to be as natural as possible.
Okay.
Yeah, I want to embrace the natural. Well, natural would be houses, of course, but the fact that we have this habitat of deer, we have this habitat of these groundhogs and possum and raccoons. Raccoons get to be a little bit abusive and abrasive, but
they can be.
Yeah. But you know, it's a natural habitat. It's become a natural
also
habitat.
Possums. You got to watch out for possums.
Well, you got to watch out for all of them.
Yeah.
But it's become natural again. Would be homes, would be residences, but because of the neglect, it has become something. You know, there are lots of trees. We've got.
Well,
black
it sounds
walnuts.
unique to the city. This sounds like a unique place.
You know, it may. I don't know that it's unique because there's a lot of places in the city that has been neglected. So I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, but what you've done with it.
Oh well, yeah, absolutely. What I've done with it is.
Are you getting support from the city?
No, I'm not getting any support from the city. I've not asked for any support from the city, but no, I've not gotten any support from the city whatsoever. We put forth these efforts. I'm not one to go out and I've been getting sponsors. We'll get into one of the things that I'm doing, but I'm looking to get some more sponsors, and some sponsors have been stepping up as a result of some of the things that I'm doing here. But just wanting to keep it a beautiful place.
Yeah.
And there are other areas that I can acquire if we wanted to do basketball, if we wanted to do racquetball, or the big thing now. Today's my 62nd birthday.
Birthday.
Thank you. The big thing now is pickleball. So I'm actually looking to put in a couple of pickleball courts. So, but another thing I want to do is
I'm an old athlete, but I sure as heck don't know what pickleball even is.
I played it probably maybe a month and a half ago up at the.
What is it?
it's a combination of tennis and racquetball and ping pong.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. It's played with a hard plastic ball and wooden paddles.
No kidding.
And it's a net the size of a tennis net, and you play it on a court that would mimic a tennis court.
Now,
So,
who invented this? Where did this come from?
you know, I'm not sure where, but it has picked up in popularity.
Really?
The last couple of years.
Yeah.
Oh, dog.
Yeah,
Okay.
so it's a sport for seasoned people. Nobody's old. You know, we're seasoned and we're experienced. So it's a sport for people who are seasoned. And I started to do it. I used to play racquetball vigorously, and my knees won't allow that to happen anymore. So I started to do this pickleball, and
So this is easier on the legs than you're saying.
well, no, in my mind, yeah, you know, my body will try and do some things, and my mind will tell me not to. So-
I understand that very, very well. Well, Mike, and we're interviewing Mike Williams, entrepreneur par excellence, on the John Telver Detroit show today. So again, talk a little bit more about why you chose Brightmoor as a community to develop. What was the main reason why you chose that over some of the other areas in the city that could really use some development?
Well, yeah, there's a lot of areas that could use development, but Brightmoor, it had the potential. There was a lot of vacant land, a tremendous amount of vacant land, so I was able to acquire quite a bit.
Who's living around over there now?
You know, it's sparsely populated, but there's still people there. Yeah, we've got some great neighbors. I'll say that. We watch out for one another. I actually moved into the community maybe 4 years ago, and there's no more than about 6 neighbors on my block. I own a majority of the homes and the property on the block, and a couple of blocks in both directions. It was a place that needed to have someone to come in and take some care. So I came in, and again, I cleaned this place up. We started in 2020 during the pandemic with our first event, our first activity in the park, and it was October. We had what we call the Friends with Classic Cars, and it was a classic car show.
Hey, you drove me over here today in a classic car.
1958 Lincoln Premier.
Yeah, how long is that car?
That car is 23 feet long.
Oh man, you got a.
I
got a 2008 Lincoln. I love my car. It's about 20 feet long. You know,
Yeah.
but yours is 23 feet.
23 feet long, yeah, and it handles like a 23-foot long vehicle also.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, as I was trying to park in the parking lot, all of these contemporary and modern day cars would zip in and take the parking spaces from, and this was just right here.
Yeah.
So it's a beautiful vehicle, but we had on our first show, we had a gentleman who had a 1963 Cobra, and he came out to our and this is in Brightmoor. You know, that's a $500,000 vehicle, and he brought it over to Brightmoor to show in our show, our event. We have vehicles. We do this now twice yearly, in the springtime and in the fall. But we have vehicles. Any vehicle that is 30 years of age and older is welcome to come out. It's free. We have food trucks. We have merchandise vendors. Beautiful classic cars. I have a 1926 Model T. My mother was born in 1925, so I've been searching for a 1925 vehicle to put on display in the park that's named after her.
Oh,
the closest I could come thus far is this 1926 Model T. I actually bought it from the Fago Beverage Company.
You got a Model T.
1926
Whoa.
Model T. Yeah.
Man, oh man.
Yeah, and it's a beauty to look at. I have no clue as to how to drive it, though. It's not even remotely close to a modern day car. It's got a stick on the tree, and it's got 3 pedals. One of the pedals is for forward and reverse, and you've got a brake and a clutch on the left. So you've got effectively 6 different apparatus to operate and steer this thing. So it takes a little time to become proficient in its operation, dare I say. But we also, we've got any vehicle that's, we've got people who have come out with cars from the 1920s, 30s, 40s, and 50s. It's just great to see. The old deuce and a quarter, the electric 225.
Oh yeah, I remember deuce and a quarter.
Yeah. They come out, and these things are in pristine condition.
I remember when I was coaching at Southeastern the first time. That was way back in the 60s, really. You know, pimps used to come out driving their deuce in the quarters, circle the building, trying to recruit our kids to work for them. You know, I couldn't. We used to have to shoo them away. You know, but I got this 2008 Lincoln. I love it. It's a long black Lincoln. I was coming back from this show one time, and I got hit run. You know, and they messed up the steering. And a friend of mine said, "Well, John, you got to get rid of this car." I said, "No, I like this car. I'm going to get it fixed." And I got, because I love this car, but it's not. What is it? 2008? Oh, you got to wait 30 years then.
Yeah. Well,
I'll be 102 years old. I won't be able to.
Yeah.
Yeah, but anyway, let's talk a little bit more about what's going on with you.
In 2021, we started what we call, we were looking for something to bring something nice to the community. So we had our first, what we call the Brightmoor Music Series on a Tuesday. We looked for a day that there was nothing else going on. We were still in the pandemic. We had people who were effectively working from home and dare I say, cooped up in their homes and looking for something to do. So we started an 8-part music series that was absolutely free to the public. The first one.
You in it every Tuesday now for the next 7 Tuesdays,
every
right?
Tuesday for the next 7 Tuesdays.
You know, I advertise you on WCHB Saturday morning.
Yeah.
That program. I'll keep doing it.
Thank
too.
you. Yeah, we kicked it off yesterday. We had a great time. The weather was beautiful. Our first show was in July 20th of 2021. We had Luther Badman Keith. He's
my man. Yeah.
And he came
Rise Detroit. He's got the
Rise Detroit.
program.
Absolutely. Yeah. He came out. We had about 300 people in the audience, which was nice because it was our first one. At the end, which was September the 7th.
You know, he used to be a sports writer.
He was
for the news.
I knew he was a writer for. Yeah, I knew he was a journalist.
Yeah.
Back when I had my sporting goods store, he was working for both the papers, if I'm not mistaken, at one time.
I remember when he was doing the news. Yeah.
Yeah, but we concluded that year with a gentleman by the name of Sean Blackman, and Sean Blackman does world music. And we had about 1,200 people in the audience, which was great. And then, so yesterday we started our season. Saturday and Sunday we actually started the season. We gave a bonus this year. We brought in Kimmy Horn, who's a wonderful local talent who has gone nationally and internationally. We had a group called the Bottom Line Band. We had a group called the Dangerfield Band, and we had a gentleman by the name of Eric Goebel and the Flying Crowbars. So we had 4 different bands on Saturday and Sunday, and yesterday from 5 o'clock until 8 o'clock, we effectively or officially kicked off the Tuesday series with a group called Station 42.
And you're doing this at the park.
We're doing it at the Ethel May Williams Park. That's my mother's park. 14300 Burgess between Linden and Acacia. Every Tuesday through September 5, from 5 o'clock until 8 o'clock. It's absolutely free. We ask that you bring a lawn chair, bring a blanket, tell a friend. That's all we want. Come on out. The music is free. We have food trucks. We have local entrepreneurs who sell merchandise, Detroit-made, Michigan-made merchandise. So we have a lot of fun.
This is great. I mean, this is absolutely. What kind of music does Kimmy Horn do?
Kimmy Horn does jazz and pop and light rock and funk and R&B. Kimmy Horn actually has a series. It's called not a series, but a festival. It's called the Kimmy Horn Jazz Festival. It happens in Lathrop Village, and it happens, I want to say, the August 15th or so, August 15th or 16th, around that. It's the second weekend in August. But she is a formidable jazz vocalist, I should say.
I've heard of her.
Here in the Detroit area.
Yeah.
And she graced our stage on this past Saturday to officially kick off our season. Our Tuesdays kicked off yesterday, but she kicked off the season for us, and we couldn't have been happier to have her on there.
What about doing a poetry series out there?
You know what? We would love to do a poetry series. We just have to have you organize it.
I might be willing to do that. I'm the poet in residence for the Detroit schools. I go around to the high schools. Do my poetry. My home school is Frederick Douglass. What about rappers?
Well, we haven't had any rappers. We do have a group that's coming on August the 5th and 6th. We have the Burgess Street Food Festival. So at that time, we've got some younger musicians and entertainers that will come in, and I believe that they're going to be doing rap. I got to look at my schedule and see what it is. But yeah, we've got a young lady, and her name is Kim Joyce, and she does light rap, but she does more of a poetic flow. Yeah,
thing.
exactly. Yeah, so she will be out there.
Maybe she could help me coordinate something like this.
I'm
and
gonna
you
have
know,
to put you in
poetry
touch with
goes
her.
good with music too. You know, music,
Absolutely.
music, poetry. You know, alternate it.
Absolutely.
I mean, because you were doing. You know, I don't understand why Tate, you know, hasn't recommended you for that award that they gave it to me one time. What is it? The council gives it.
The Spirit of Detroit
Yeah,
Award?
yeah, I got that award. Why you should be having that award? They should know what you're doing. You know,
Well,
I mean,
they-
you're doing
yeah.
great things for the city.
Yeah, he knows what I'm
Come
doing.
on, Mayor Duggan, you got to know about this guy, and he's going to see this
Okay.
this tape right here.
I'm not
and
one
so
who
are all the
looks for,
council, by the way.
Yeah, I don't look for a pat on the back. I just
Well,
want to
yeah,
do
but
something great
I
for
know
my
you don't look for a
community.
pat on the back. It's folks who don't look for pats on the back that need pats on the back. You know, because you know you're not trying to publicize yourself. You're trying to do something for our city, and God knows we need all the help we can get in every venue we can get it.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, I want your viewers to know every Tuesday through September 5th, 5 o'clock to 8 o'clock. Come on out, bring a lawn chair, bring a blanket, tell a friend. It's absolutely free. We have a great time. We have jazz. We've got some R&B, some top 40s, some funk. Some of the artists. This coming Tuesday, the 25th, we've got. She's been around for a long time. Also, don't want to tell her age, but Audrey Northington. She calls herself the Scat Diva. So
Okay.
she'll be performing on August the 1st. We've got Tasha Owens, and a lot of people know who Tasha Owens is. She was doing a lot of things with Channel 4. One of my favorites, and I guess I'm an old soul, but we've got Dan Omar. He calls himself the Blues MD. So Dan Omar will be out, and he's bringing a young lady with him. Her name is Lady K, so she's going to be doing some Tina Turner songs, which is, we're looking for. Phil Lesky, the Phil Lesky Trio, he's a prominent pianist, so he'll be out. We've got Ed Stone and the Flow Masters who will be out on the 22nd. Just Vibing with a young lady by the name of Ava J comes out on the 29th, and we wrap up the series with a group called The Project. And I always have to give him accolades. He's kind of like me. He doesn't necessarily want the pat on the back, but his name is Michael Hicks. And he says, just call us The Project. You don't have to call us Michael Hicks Project. It's The Project. So, but Michael, you know, you have my adulation and admiration. Michael Hicks and The Project will wrap up our season. So on September. Let me say, if you want to get a copy of our schedule, well, this is what we have here. But WilliamsPark.org, WilliamsPark.org, you can go on and click on the schedule link, and that shows everything that we're going to be doing throughout the end of our season.
So if an artist wanted to reach out to you to possibly get on in the future, they could go there as well?
They can go to WilliamsPark.org and click on the Contact Us link and send out. Yeah, and we have had some wonderful people that have reached out. Haven't been able. We do 8 shows a year. Now we have added 6 additional performances this year because we've added a couple of other things. But we filled up pretty rapidly. I don't know if I'm doing something right. I guess I am. But we've had a number of people who have come out. And I will say, last year and the year prior, everything was coming out of my pocket. I had 2 artists that came to me this year and said, listen, I have a sponsor that's willing to pay me to perform on your show.
Oh, so the people that perform can get paid.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
You're watching the Dr. John Telford Detroit Show live streaming on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter, and other top social media platforms. Like, follow, share, comment, and subscribe. Thank you for watching WJZZ, the coolest station in the world. We've got the Recovery Park presents the summer concert series. Let's see, Larry Lee and the Back in the Day Band is Saturday, July 22nd. Brandon Rose and Soul Therapy is Saturday, July 29th, and Trifocal is Saturday, August 5th. That's at Recovery Park Farms, 5470 Shane. You can go on Recovery Park's Facebook page for more information, and tickets are also available on Eventbrite. You have something?
Yeah, I just wanted to. I'm going to say this poem. I call it a debt unpaid. America's debt remains unpaid yet. Since American slaves have lain long in their graves, reparations are now due from me and all of you. And I'm talking about the me and the all of you in that poem as being those of us who've got white faces, because we've got a reparations task force now in the city that badly needs some really knowledgeable people on that task force. And one of the people that I have recommended is Toinu Reeves, and I want anyone who is in listening or watching range of this show to get a hold of the co-chair of the Reparations Task Force. That's Miss Lauren Hood. Miss Lauren Hood is the co-chair, and she is ms.lauren, Lauren Hood, at gmail.com. ms.lauren Hood at gmail.com, and her phone number is 313-610-6004. And tell Miss Hood, recommend to Miss Hood, Larry Hightower from the EMG group, saw Toinu on this show and said he did such a great job. He wanted to recommend this guy to me, to recommend to Lauren Hood to get on this task force. So I did. But so far I have not heard from Lauren Hood. I don't think that Toinu has heard from Lauren Hood, and I'm going to keep battering on it on both of my shows until that happens. And there's another thing that I need to say to you while I still have time to say it. Miss Virginia Starkey, formerly known simply as V, the proprietress of Wjzz Boutique, offers a wide range of fine clothing and accessories for ladies. You can find all sizes of women's fine apparel in V's one-stop excellent customer service at Wjzz Boutique that you can't find anywhere else in Detroit anymore. V's is at 16423 East Warren Avenue. 16423 East Warren Avenue. That's right around the corner from the old Alger Theater, and right around the corner from one of the few libraries that's still open in Detroit. So patronize V, because she has some magnificent clothing for ladies there. And we are now interviewing Mike Williams.
You didn't give out her phone number.
Well, that's because she's got a new phone number. She's not answering that phone number right now. She's got to get an answering machine on that phone number before I give it out. But if you want to make an appointment with her, call me. I'm at 313-460-8272. 313-460-8272. And we've got Mike Williams in the station today, who's doing some magnificent things for the city that need to be publicized. Mike, talk a little bit more about what you're doing with these parks.
Well, so again, took some what we call inner city blighted property, and we repurposed it into productive spaces of recreation. That's kind of our motto. We have the Thelger Williams Park that's located at 14300.
And that's named for your mother.
That's named after my mother. 14300 Burgess Street between Linden and Acacia. It's a beautiful space that we've cleaned up. We've removed blight. We've worked with the housing department to tear down a number of blighted and burned properties. And we've created a space that I think is aesthetically pleasing. We are still doing some work on it. We're going to install a walking trail. We're going to install a reflecting pond and a bird aviary. So we want to.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. We have beautiful migratory birds that every spring they come up. You see gray herrings and you see egrets, and these are birds
in Detroit.
In Detroit. Yeah. Yeah. They don't actually stop in our area, but we're going to do what we can to try and entice them, and that's the reason we want to put in this bird aviary. To attract some of these migratory birds.
Just keep the geese out of there if you can.
The geese make a mess. The Canadian, let me say this, they do fly over, but they don't stop, and not necessarily wanting them to stop, the geese nor the seagulls. But the bird aviary is something that we're planning to do. Hopefully we can get that accomplished in 2024. 2 weeks ago, we actually opened our second park, which is it's a lot on Burgess and Finkel. 21540 Finkel.
So that's nearby.
That's nearby. It's about 6 blocks away. And that park,
Okay.
I have an uncle who is 92 years old on
Whoa.
on July 30th this year, he'll be 92. His name is James Wesley Brogdon Jr. So I've named that park after my 92-year-old uncle.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so it's a smaller park, it's a field, and we're going to have a pergola that will be there, and just we're going to have
a what?
a pergola. Is kind of like a gazebo, but it,
Oh, okay.
it doesn't have a rigid top. It's just a slatted top.
Okay.
And it's an aesthetic piece. So nothing that's actually structural, nothing that'll keep the rain off of you. Just something you've seen them many times. It's just a structure that's got slats.
Something you can sit in.
You can sit under, yeah.
Under.
You can sit under. It won't keep the rain off of you because, and it won't keep the sun off of you. It's just an aesthetic
Decorative.
piece. Absolutely, yeah. So we'll have that. We'll have 4 benches, and we'll have a walkway with a stone in the center that's got his name and his departed wife, Johnny K. Brogdon. Their name is on that, and it's something that was dedicated by me, their nephew. And then we've got some bricks that'll go around, and people can purchase bricks with their name as to commemorate, commemorate a family member. So, and it helps in our fundraising efforts. So, that park we actually lightly opened 3 weeks ago, and we're going to continue with the renovations as we get more money that comes in from sponsors or people who are altruistic and want to make some donations to us. Yeah. Some of the other things that's going on in the Ethelja May Williams Park, again, I mentioned that we're going to have the Burgess Street Food Festival. Last year we did this, and it was a huge success because we actually did a retro food festival where we brought back a couple of restaurants that were mainstays here in the city of Detroit, but had been long closed. One of the mainstays that we brought back was there's a restaurant that was on Wyoming and Curtis, and if anybody went to Mumford High School, which is that's my alma mater, we knew that Brothers Barbecue had a sandwich called the Boogaloo sandwich, and there's a gentleman called Chef Gray. His name is Chef Gray. He's got a place called Soul in the Wall that's on Curtis in Wyoming. It's the same building, but it's a different doorway, and he brought that Boogaloo sandwich to our park last year. And people, they loved it. It was almost as if you walked back into 1978, 1979. But the largest draw that we had last year at our food festival, and they come out for everything that we do now, was the Dot and Etta Shrimp Hut. Dot and Etta Shrimp Hut, we had them at our food festival last year, and we had people coming in from Lansing, from Kalamazoo, from Toledo, and they stood in line for about 45 minutes to an hour
to get some .NET.
to buy .NET shrimp. And they were with us yesterday. They're going to be with us every Tuesday. They're going to be at our food festival on the 15th and 16th. The 5th and 6th of August. And they're going to be at our senior festival that happens on the 9th and 10th of September. So we do what we can. We are big on nostalgia. Our classic car show evokes memories, wonderful memories of people who had these beautiful and classic vehicles, and the food festival will give you a taste of years gone by, and it's absolutely a wonderful thing and an homage to my mother, Ethelja May Williams, and I know she's in heaven smiling down on us now, so yeah.
How are some other ways that you can help local entrepreneurs through this enterprise?
Well, I'm extremely busy, so I'm going to enlist the services of you. I met you through the Author Collective.
When was that?
Oh gosh, that was 2008. Right after the election of Barack Obama is when I started that organization, and we traveled around the country. We did
That's
2
when I
book
was still at
festivals.
Finney High. I was still running the programs at Finney High. Man, that was a long time ago.
And right after that, you were the interim superintendent also. So
that job almost killed me. I had a heart attack on that job. I was fighting the emergency financial manager who really didn't quite understand what I was trying to do. Yeah. He later said he was wrong. He blocked us from doing a lot of things. But I didn't take that job. From 2008, I went from Finney. I went to the superintendency in Madison.
Okay.
I had
So-
trouble there too, you know, 'cause I was fighting
Yeah.
fighting some bigots out there, but
Yeah,
Uh,
it was so 2008 was the election, and my book came out right after that. So that was just like December of 2008, right after the election. And then we formed the collective, and we had book festivals at Laurel Park Place Mall, and then at Northland, and
Oh, yeah.
then we went down into Cleveland, and then we went to Tennessee and New York and Miami. And it was great because we started off with about 8 authors, and John was one of the original, and
Yeah.
we blossomed within 2 years up to about 230 authors, not only from around the country, but we had a young lady who flew in to our event at Laurel Park Place Mall from China,
Oh.
and we had
Wow.
artists from Australia, we had artists from authors from Australia and authors from Africa.
but an author is an artist.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. And one of the great things is we had his name was Deo Akinyemi, and he was a prince in his native land of Africa.
Wow.
And he was an author out of Wisconsin, and he was a member, and he would come to the book festivals that we attended or organized in some of the different cities. And so it grew. There was a great need for people who wrote books to find a way to publish or self-publish.
Talk a little bit about your book.
Well, gosh, it was so long ago. I had a composite, and I'm not an author, although I do write a lot of things, but it was a composite of...
You're not an author, yet you wrote a book.
I didn't write the book. I actually compiled the book. It was a book
Okay.
on Barack Obama and what I did.
Okay.
Yeah, it was a book of newspaper, front pages of newspapers to commemorate the historical election of Barack Obama.
Oh, okay.
So I talked to black newspapers around the country, and I
Yeah.
got them to agree to allow us to publish the front page
Oh, okay.
after the election of their newspapers in the book. So we had 42 front pages, and then I enlisted the services of a number of wonderful poets. So each poet for each newspaper that we
Yeah.
covered, they wrote a poem that talked about what it meant to have Barack Obama as the first black president of the United States of America.
Well, I can bring some good poets to this thing. And we've got some in Detroit, let
We
me tell you.
absolutely,
We've got
yeah.
Melba Joyce Boyd, we got Aurora Harris, we've got Gloria House, you know, and a young up-and-coming poet, couple that I've been trying to mentor, including Cheryl Curry, you know, who's got a book of poetry coming out.
So let me
But,
say this: I have I purchased a band shell from the city of Southfield, so we have a great stage for a poetic event, and
Whoa.
we just have to get it organized, and I'm up to here with the events that I have now. I wanted to do a local book festival, and I wanted to bring in the young lady who was the poet laureate who read for the Biden inauguration.
Oh, yes, that'd be
yeah.
I
wonderful.
can't remember her name.
Yeah, Amanda Gorman. Amanda Gorman is her name. Yeah.
Well, we've got a new
So,
poet laureate in Michigan, too, that they just named.
Yep, just a few days ago.
And
if
she
I'm not
came out of
mistaken.
Detroit, I believe.
Yeah.
All right.
So
You're watching WJZZ Cool TV, live streaming on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter, and other top social media platforms. Like, follow, share, comment, and subscribe. Thank you for watching WJZZ Cool TV, the coolest station in the world. I need you to sum up what you're doing, what you want people to know.
Before you do that, I'm going to do a poem because it reminds me of this guy. It's a short one. The Values of Verse. Verse comes to us by pen or voice. We thus can always take our choice. Let me be also sure to mention that verse will gain us righteous vengeance via deft poetic arts that can topple oligarchs. Verse will clearly, plainly lay out what we poets dare to say out. Like gentle mewling lambs no more, but rather with a fearsome roar, as from some cacophonic corps of lions. And we got a lion in the studio today
You have
by
2
the
minutes.
name of Mike Williams, who has been telling us all about things that he is doing for the city. So, okay, do what Char just said now. I just interrupted Char. I do that all the time. But how can folks get more information regarding these fabulous events? You know, tell us how
our
they
website
can do
is williamspark.org, williamspark.org. You can go on, you can Google Brightmoor Music Series, you can Google Burgess Street Food Festival, You can Google Friends with Classic Cars, and all of those things will pop up with lots of information about what we've done and what we will be doing. But our best way is to go to williamspark.org and click on the schedule button, and you'll see all the activities that we've got coming up. We've got every Tuesday from 5 o'clock until 8 o'clock. It's absolutely free. The Brightmoor Music Series. Come on out, bring a lawn chair, bring a blanket, tell a friend. On August the 5th and 6th, we've got our Burgess Street Food Festival. So we'll have food trucks and merchandise vendors, and we'll also have live music. And September 9 and 10, we will have our Senior Activities Weekend. Lots of fun, physical activity, as well as lots of information from a number of great organizations. We've got the Wayne State University Institute of Gerontology that will be there talking about Alzheimer's, talking about lots of things that's germane to a growing population, an aging population.
I got a question, might be silly. What's the bathroom situation like at the park?
That's a good question.
Yeah, it's not a silly question.
Because they're having trouble at Mill Isle with that.
Yeah, we have porta potties out there now.
Oh, good,
yeah,
good.
I was just like, wait a minute. I'll
Yeah,
be out
man.
there all day.
Yeah,
What's the
yeah,
bathroom? All right, that's going to do it for us. Thank you for joining us today. It was a great show.
Great show.
You've been listening to the John Telford Detroit Show
That
with
wasn't a
Dr.
silly
John
question.
Telford and co-host Charlotte Jones
question.
on WJZZ Detroit Internet Television, coming to you live every Wednesday morning at 10 o'clock. Also streaming on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. Contact Dr. Telford at 313-460-8272. That's 313-460-8272. Or at Dr. John Telford, EDD, at AOL.com. That's DrJohnTelfordEDD at AOL.com. To sponsor or appear on this show, or to get signed copies of his book, which Hugh Perkins, Jeffrey Feiger, and Dr. Wayne Dyer all call spellbinding and sensational. It was the late, great Dr. Wayne Dyer who said, Dr. John Telford has a warrior's heart and a poet's soul. Read Dr. Telford's commentaries on the schools and other vital topics in the Telford Telescope column in the Detroit Native Sun newspaper. And also hear him on his other station, WCHB AM 1340, every Saturday morning at 9:30 and Monday evening at 6:30. That's every Saturday morning at 9:30 a.m. and Monday evening at